Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to do a gear guide, just get it out of the way, get it up on the channel for any new players or people that may be struggling with gear in this game. I'm gonna be honest, gear in this game is pretty simple. It's one of the best gear systems in all of gacha games, and I'm not the only one who shares this opinion. I've played many gacha games, and I do believe that this is probably the best gacha game gear system. Now, so if you don't know what gear is, if we just go to a unit real quick and we click on their equipment down here, you'll see that they have different gear pieces on them. And if you hit exchange, it'll show multiple different pieces. Now these are UR gear pieces, and I'll explain what those are a little bit later in the video. But these are pieces where they get extra bonus stats if they're being used on the unit, the character that the gear is specifically tailored to. And I'll go over that more here in a little bit, but if you can see, it says Ludociel's Iron Wall Bracelet. That means that it works on any unit that is specified as a Ludociel, so Margaret, and then you can exchange it with the base Ludociel and it still works. Now if you put this on, say, like Eskanor, it's not going to get that extra bonus step from being a UR piece. Now, where you're going to want to start with the gear, starting off this game, if you are free to play, you're probably going to want to go into here, and chapters 1 through 6 are going to have these here. As you can see, these missions, these are where you're going to farm for your SSR gear. Now, all the other gear that is not SSR, personally, I think ignore it. Just don't even mess with it. There are probably going to be some older guides on YouTube that you're going to find that tells you, hey, this is what you should do. Listen, that the gear system in this game has changed quite a bit since when this game first released. I'm telling you right now, it's probably not worth wasting your resources on anything that's not SSR gear. So the gear that you're mostly going to be wanting to focus on the most is attack gear. So this right here, the red ones, as you can see, it increases your attack stat. So you want your attack gear, your defense gear, the purple one that says defense. Oh, okay, hold up. Real quick, my bad. Listen, if you go to your gear, you have your top 2 pieces are your attack stats. Your middle 2 are defense. Your bottom 2 are HP. Also, if you look down here, notice you have these different symbols. You have this sword here, that means attack. And you have this explosion, which means crit damage. Now the reason for that is if you have, see these little symbols up on the gear pieces? You have the explosion here and the explosion here. I have 2 of them equipped, which means I'm getting an extra 20% crit damage. 4 attack pieces equals an extra 20% attack. Now, attack is going to be 4. You need 4. It does not work with 2. You need the 4. They do this on purpose because if you notice, there's 6 pieces. That way when you're building sets, you're going to want 1 4 set like attack or HP and 1 2 set, which is crit damage, defense, like that. Now this one's not a good gear set to kind of show you. You want to have your gear sets built like this. My Ludociel set is one of the first, well, not like one of the first, but I completely went through and redid all of my gear after base Ludociel had dropped, because you want these 2 middle pieces to be your crit pieces and your defense pieces. This is just for organization purposes. Trust me, it'll make your life so much easier doing this. I regretted not having my pieces set up this way, where I had the 4 on the corners and then the 2 pieces in the middle. Trust me, it helps so much. You'll understand. Now, back to what I was going over. The gear pieces you're gonna want the attack, the defense sets, the HP sets, and these other sets are garbage. Don't ever worry about these. Being early on, not late game. Even late game, you're hardly ever going to see anybody use these pieces. Really, from here, all you want is the attack, the defense, and the HP. The crit damage sets you can get from the Fight Festival shop, but you can also get it from the Gear Gacha. So the Gear Gacha is one of the most important assets you're going to have in the game. Typically what you want to do is you want to select Auto Salvage all the way up to SR. This is my preferred way of doing this. So you have your SSR unclicked, so you get all of that gear, right? And you want to select how many runs you're going to burn through. We're not going to burn through that many just because I'm just going to show you what, I suggest doing. So we're just going to do 10 runs real quick. Okay, we're going to do hit consecutive draw, hit OK. Normally you burn gold through this, but if you save up those amber keys, it also works really well for this. But as you can see, we're getting stuff from the Gear Gacha, and I'll show you right here what we're getting. So we're salvaging some of the materials from the pieces that aren't SSR. We're also getting anvils and stones. Now, as far as, when's the best time to do this? Typically you want to wait. A lot of festivals will have Gear Gacha salvage events. That's when you really want to do this. You want to farm gold over and over and over. Just save up your gold, save up your amber keys. When that salvage event drops, that's when you typically go in, do a bunch of draws, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go to your item storage. You're going to go to equipment and sort to not equipped, because I have, real quick, let me show you. I have about, over 1,200 equipped pieces of gear. But you're going to hit not equipped, apply, and it'll show you all the gear that you have that's not equipped onto your characters. You're going to go through all of your gear pieces, find the ones that have really good stats. That's decent. I wish that was better, but it's fine. This is decent. This will work. Save something that looks like this, right? Where this bar is almost to the end, and you lock it. See how I have the little lock equipped? You want to lock it, and then you go through and all the gear that's garbage, the gear that you don't want to save. Let me look. What is this? Yeah, so something like this, don't want to save it. So what you're going to do is you're going to enhance, hit this consecutive. Now, this part is completely up to you. Okay. You either want to add a star. I typically add the 5-star. I think typically more whales tend to do the 5-star. But that's up to you. Never do the awakened when you're doing this method of farming gear. So select what you wanted to do and you enhance it, and then you go through, you go to Deanne over here. Once you've gone through and enhanced all those pieces you want to salvage, and this is why you want the salvage event, so that when you come in here, you can make sure your selected SSR is on. Make sure you don't register your enhanced pieces, or you're going to have a bad time. And this is also why we lock the pieces we want to save, because if you don't, you'll end up salvaging those pieces. Then you hit apply, it'll equip the gear sets, the gear pieces that you're going to salvage, and then you salvage. Now, the reason why we're adding those stars before we salvage is you see these stones right here? This is what you're going for. This is going to drop. If you just salvage straight off the bat like I just did, you're going to get the, minimum stones. You're not going to get the bigger stones. But if you go through and you do the ones with, not the stars, but the +5, that's what I meant to say, not the stars, the +5, then you'll get better rewards. Now, moving on. If you look at your characters, the way you want to gear your units, okay, there are 3 different kinds of units in the game. You have your DPS units, your utility units, and your hybrid units. Hybrid is going to be a cross between both. So DPS units would be like Eskanor. Eskanor is probably the most vanilla DPS in the game. His passive doesn't help any of your allies, it only helps him, it increases his damage. His cards only do damage. That is literally all he is built for. His relic, increases damage output. That is all he is built for. So, typically, that's an HP defense set. Typically, you want attack crit on your DPS, sometimes a attack defense if your units don't crit very often. Either way, it's up to you. I prefer attack crit for most of it, especially for PvE content. This is typically your DPS characters. Now, if you noticed, I had an HP set also. A lot of times you're going to want both. For like the main units, you're going to use a lot, like Meliodas. Meliodas is a DPS, so he has attack crit on, but I also have HP defense and other sets for him, just because, you know, there's different things in the game that you may want to have different kinds of gear sets for. Now, going on to utility units, we're going to go to probably the best example of a utility unit. We have base Green Gother here. He has a rank up skill. He has his deplete ultimate gauge skill. I can't think of the words for it right this second. Dissolve, that's what I'm thinking of, dissolve. So he has a dissolve card, and his ultimate doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it depletes ultimate gauge, and then his passive also supports your team. So he is probably the best example of what a utility unit is in the game. Utility units are always going to be a HP defense. Now, the reason I was saying earlier, you want your gear sets to be organized in specific spots, because it does not matter which pieces you put your, say you have your crit piece here, and I have my crit piece here. It doesn't matter if it's there or if it's in the middle in terms of boosting their stats. But what it does matter is, say I want to run Margaret in something that crit damage isn't really going to be useful for me, so I want to replace those with defense. So she's attack defense. Well, if I don't have, let me put equipped on. See, the way I built Ludocio's gear is I can easily just swap out my defense pieces and my crit pieces. So now she's attack defense. If you don't do that, you're going to have a bad time, because you're going to have to make even more sets, and you need purple stones to UR gear, and purple stones are one of the more valuable resources in the game. Let me just put this back on real quick. Alright, now UR gear. You're going to go over to Merlin. Or, well, before I do that, real quick, King over here. If you go to the exchange shop, you go to these equipment awakening stones. These are all your awakening stones. These ones, you're just going to hire exchange. And you're going to keep doing that down the line till they are all this one right here, where I have 93 of them. And this is the one you're going to want the most of. And then for UR gear, you have to go up to the next step, which is this one right here. And then you're going to use those over here with Merlin. And you're going to select here to engrave. You're going to select, typically I select the character first. I go through to the units and I, set up, hey, this is what I want to UR. And then I'll, select Merlin. Merlin, all the gear on her is already built up. So who doesn't have a maxed set? Real quick. I mean, I think Arthur. No. Strange. Who? I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Anyways, you select your character, you select your equipment. Okay, so Jericho does have some that's ready to get UR. You need to get your equipment to all stars, max stars, the 5 stars, and the +5. Then you select, and then you see down here I have 84 of the purple UR stones and one of these big boy blue stones, and that's how you engrave your equipment. Now, you're going to want to focus on the units you use the most and the ones you use in PvP if you do play geared PvP to UR. PvE content doesn't necessarily need UR gear, but the reason I have so many UR sets is, as you get into the late game, you're going to be building more and more UR sets. But yeah, anyways, I think that's everything. I think I covered pretty much all of the basics. There are other different gear gotcha systems. If you go here and you click this arrow, there's these here, but for the most part you don't really have to worry too much about these. You'll learn these as you go. But yeah, if you guys like this video, like the video, and subscribe, and yeah, y'all have a wonderful day.
四大天使の名にかけて